it's Char. So this week's been pretty interesting. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of things happening that I haven't really expected, and some things I did. But ultimately, I feel like it's been a good week. So for one, I went ahead and started my schoolism course, and that's been pretty fun. I'm taking Tara Whitlatch's animal course, so that's really fun. I'm super excited about my first lesson. It's a challenge to pick out the animal I want to draw because there's so many I can choose from, and I want to kind of draw all of them, so I'm gonna have to pick one, and that's difficult. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the box or the chat or wherever that it happens to be. So that's happening. That's going to be continuing throughout the weeks, and I guess I'll go ahead and update on that. Let's see, what else? I've gotten delayed on the whole car situation. I was interested in getting a car, and of course on Craigslist I ended up tracking several cars that I was really interested in, and they're all gone now, just about. So I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I'm still sort of on the fence about even having a car, sharing like life story information here. Ultimately, I've decided, after scouring apartments and spending $600, $700, $800 on a place where you can't move when you want to, you're stuck there. This is an inner nomad speaking here. You find other ways. And I'm not really one to live the typical dream that other people have. I kind of forge my own path. So what I decided was to try to live in an RV full time. And it's been my kind of dream idea for the past 3 years at least. And I am making strides to try to have that be an actuality. So I've determined that I would like something as close to 21 feet as possible. Class C for all you other RV nerds out there. I'd love something with like a dedicated bed. I don't want to have to like make my bed every single day, but if I had to, I guess I could survive for like my starter RV or something. Of course, I'm looking into used because new RVs are super expensive, though if you think of it as a house payment or the payment that you would have for a house, it's actually quite reasonable, but it's still a lot of money. So definitely looking into used. Around this area, that means 1980s models. So that's all thing that's going to be ongoing and definitely my goal for this year. So I'd love to look back at this video at the end of the year and say, yes, that is definitely something I wanted to do and I did it. So we'll see. What else? Oh, my hair is like extra straight today. If you're like, hey, Char, I've never seen you with straight hair, you're correct. It doesn't happen very often. In fact, I could only get this part straight. The back is still all curly because, you know, actual curly hair is hard to straighten, and it wanted to today. It has mind of its own, and it felt like it, so I kind of worked with it. But you can't tell curly hair what to do. You're just going to get annoyed. So you just pretty much have to do what it wants to do and just hope that it looks okay. Or wash it and try again. But yeah, so that's happening. I've got this pretty sweet scarf on right now. I have like 17 scarves and I never wear them, so this is my effort into trying to wear them more. So that's kind of what's going on in the fashion world with Char lately. So in one of the previous videos, I mentioned a little bit about wanting to do a little bit of history, so I guess I'll do that this video. Why not? I pretty much classify myself as a nomad because every 2 to 3 years from the time I was 2 on, I've moved either states or at least within the same city. I've moved and changed apartments or houses or whatever we were living at the time. There's 2 different kinds of outcomes for people who have that kind of lifestyle growing up. Number one is that, is more common, is that I never want to move again. I am so sick of moving. I've done that, been there. I am so over it. And then there's the other one where it feels weird if you don't move. In fact, change is normal to me, and staying the same is actually the thing that scares me. So I am none of those sayings really work for me, so sorry. In fact, staying the same and staying stagnant is the thing that terrifies me the most. I can't tolerate that, not in my personal life or anything. Always trying to grow and change and be better than the day before. I moved a lot as a kid, and it ended up being pretty good for me overall. I feel like it allowed me to adapt to things quickly, and I feel like it was an experience that changed me for the better. I feel like a lot of people end up feeling very resentful about moving as kids, and it kind of taught me to just go with the flow and kind of deal with it and not always think of everything as like this big terrible thing that happens. So that was good. After I graduated high school, I ended up moving overseas, and I lived in Norway for 3 years or so. I was a video game tester. It sounds really cool, but I promise you, it is not that cool. And a lot of people think, oh, okay, so I got to grab a game off the shelf and plop down in my beanbag and play games for 8 hours and then clock out. But it's not that fun. It's actually, you play the same game for anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day, and you're not playing it, you're actually just wall crawling and going through each area of the game and teleporting there, and then spotting bugs and then writing it down, and then submitting bugs, and then telling other people, the devs, that there's a bug there, and then they will or won't fix it, or they'll fix it and then it'll mess something else up, and cycle just starts over again. So it sounds like a really cool job, but really I was trying to get into the art department. Could never really get there, so ended up moving back to the US to start my freelance career. I also ended up visiting Australia for a month, and that was a really neat experience. I want to say like I got to ride an Australian Brumby through the outback, but that's not really what happened. I rode a very green-broke horse through the Tasmanian brush, basically, and I got to see a wallaby, and my horse jumped over a little creek, and I wasn't really ready for it because I had almost no riding lessons before then. So that was fun. I also got to pet a cheetah during that time, and that was probably one of the coolest things that I was ever able to do in my whole life. I really like cheetahs, so that was really awesome. So while I was living in Norway, I got to also visit Lyon in France for about 3 days, which, funny enough, actually, I feel a lot more interest in places that aren't on the beaten path. I've, oddly enough, always found myself living in capital cities, or at least very near the capital city. And I don't mean to, but I always end up there. And actually, discovering Lyon was really cool because I went in with no preconceived notion of anything about it. I didn't really research, and that sounds terrible, but I kind of just wanted to have the experience that I had with no outside influence. Everything I feel about the place, I feel I came to because of my own lived experience and not necessarily just because that's what I read in a travel guide. So that was really fun. The food is really awesome. I think it's so cool when you just walk around a city and you just discover things. And one of the things that I discovered while I was there was a giant park, just full of actual animals. Not like your little tiny petting zoo or something where they had goats and pigs, but they actually had full-on zoo you just walked into totally for free. And there were like giraffes and elephants and crocodiles, and just, it was really cool. So that was definitely something to check out if you're ever in that area. I also, more recently, I ended up moving to New York City for 4 months and found out that I could be a hermit just about anywhere, including New York City. So I stayed inside most of the time working and didn't really have a ton of disposable income to really enjoy the city. I think if I go back, I would want to take time to actually do a lot more of the events and check out the different foods, and kind of a foodie. I love my food and do all that kind of stuff instead of just necessarily keep it as like just a working place just to do work. And if I had my RV, then I could do such a thing. I could just like live out in Bushwick or something and just, park my RV and then go out into the city for the day and then come back home to my RV. Why not? I've seen it done before. So that's kind of me and my life in a little summary, and I figure, if anybody's interested in more or hearing more, you can always ask a question. But yeah, so if you have any questions or have any kind of like things you want to contribute to your experiences, I'd be happy to hear them. So you can, say so in the comments or wherever this is posted. So, yep. that's me for this week, and I hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!